My name
No,
is
it's okay.
Jhong, and I'm fresh from an immersion trip in the Philippines. So yeah, excuse the cough, and I'm still a little bit jet lagged. But yeah, most of the trip I spent in the Cordillera region, which is the highest, the most mountainous region in the Philippines. Pretty rugged up there, and it's located in the far north of Luzon Island. Here is the home of the Igorot, which is a proud group of several indigenous peoples who are still suffering from the utter disrespect of their system of ancestral inheritance and communal ownership of lands, imperialist plunder of their rich natural resources, and bastardization, commercialization of their culture, of their indigenous social structures, and they have a rich history of government neglect and misrepresentation. So to focus on the youth, the hardy but humble youth of this region in particular, they face a double bind of sorts, of vulnerability and exploitation. The irony and perhaps the key of it all is that this region contains some of the largest stores of mineral, hydroelectric, and geothermal energy in the entire archipelago, and arguably even in the entire region of Southeast Asia. So according to the Cordillera People's Alliance, school facilities and state subsidy in the region, even for basic education, which is a human right, by the way, has been lacking and inaccessible for the vast majority of the youth, especially in the remotest mountain communities and provinces. In the workforce, these youth are being victimized under widespread and unemployment, trained for contractual jobs that are mostly below minimum wage with little to no benefits whatsoever. These are clear examples of neoliberal attacks and imperialist impositions of austerity, budget cuts, union busting, starting with the youngest and the most marginalized, even within the third world. With the general orientation of the Philippine education system itself being as commercialized and even colonial as it is, it sets the stage for a workforce that is timid, atomized, alienated, demoralized, and thus further divided and easily exploited. A workforce that is in fact just like any other, whose unpaid wage is made profit, who is entitled to all it produces, and to whom all real power rests, just as our guy Marx wrote. It is no surprise that the dire conditions of this Cordillera region push many of their finest and fiercest youth to decisively pick a side, the side of the Filipino people, in a civil war raging all over the Philippines, one of the longest running struggles for genuine socialism and national democracy in Asia and in the world. A just war to end all such wars of imperialist profiteering, intrusion, and intervention in the region. A war to free my homeland as one of imperialism's feudal bastions and bases, a direct and dire hit to the heart of this dying beast. From the great Filipino revolutionary thinker and doer, Joe Masison, in his article, Youth on the March, I quote, "A nation that does not continuously renew itself through progressive-minded and militant youth cannot possibly advance. A world of timid and apathetic youth will merely feed all the regimes of injustice and exploitation, with a constant flow of manpower for exploited labor and cannon fodder for unjust war. It is in the very nature of the world and of history that while there are youth, there will always be those who question and fight the outdated order, striving to build a new system in which they stand to gain. Only through militant struggle will the best of the youth emerge. From the Cordilleran youth of the Philippines to the millennials of the United States, we face a deepening discontent and a growing realization of systemic problems, a need for a principled, multi-sectoral, interlinked response to these fascist attacks, from the plunderers in the Philippines, to the war hawks flying over Syria, and to the ruthless pigs on our very own soil. Privilege is not an option. We have to put the indigenous, we have to put the third world and their liberation struggles front and center. Because imperialism relies, it thrives, it survives on the oppression of these very nations and peoples. If we want to end this endless war, we have to materially and collectively change the social conditions which create it. Many have tried to provide their own interpretation, but remember, the point is to change it. That's exactly why we are the youth on the march here today, to condemn all imperialist wars of aggression. This imploding system where even basic necessities are made rarities and commodities with price tags, and a never-ending race for the cheapest labor to pad that bottom line, where predominantly brown and black youth are disproportionately and aggressively recruited. We call on all youth of the world to unite, to educate, to organize. We have nothing else to lose in the chains of this dying and rotten system. And we stand together in solidarity to gain everything in the fearless building of a new one. A society freed from all forms of extractive plunder and development aggression. A new world filled with self-determination for all peoples. So chant with me. The people united will never be defeated. Okay, so for my kasamas and our allies who know the Filipino version, ang tao, ang bayan! Ngayon ay lumalaban! When workers and youth are under attack, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back!
What do we do?
Stand up, fight back!
What do we do?
Stand up, fight back!
Long live international solidarity!
Long live international solidarity!
So yeah, happy birthday, Marx, and thank you everyone for listening.